Okay, so I have set it to record, and so I'm delighted to lead this webinar today on the 555 Live in 5. And I have some people to introduce you to, and I'm going to just get started by flipping our screen a little bit forward. That is me. On the slide there. I'm Allison Hendren. I'm CEO and founder of Coaching Out of the Box, and I am passionate about absolutely everyone learning coaching skills. Some getting their ICF certification, and some using it as leaders and managers in organizations. And one of the things that I know is one of the ways that we learn, and what has worked really well, is for people to be able to see coaching live, and to also be able to see that coaching can take place in the hallway, in short spaces of time. And with the model that we have and that we shared with over 17,000 people worldwide, it works really well because I wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to learn coaching. So you can see my slide, and now what I'm going to do, so that's who I am. And I also have a lovely person on our webinar today who's assisting us, and who is Mark Bowles. And Mark, you need to show your webcam, so get yourself off the webcam or on the webcam and off the mute. And I am delighted to be introducing Mark. Mark and I are kind of a bit of a team at times when we go out and deliver our flagship 555 program. And as you can see, Mark is a senior trainer with Coaching Out of the Box. So that's just one of many things that he does. And it's a great pleasure to work with Mark. Mark, did you want to say anything?
I'm gonna say hello, welcome everyone. Blessed to be here and really excited about what we're going to be doing and sharing with you today. So have some fun. That's what it's all about, is having a good time.
Well, especially when I'm running the technology, sometimes it can be a little bit more fun than we thought. So anyway, and he's worked with all kinds of performance athletes, been involved in the Olympics. He's a fabulous mentor coach. I mean, and on, faculty at Railroads, one of the universities that teaches coaching. So we're lucky to have him here. And also, in addition, we have, and I'm just going to move this forward here, what our intention is here, and we're going to get to it real fast because the most of the time on this webinar is going to be about coaching. And so what we want to show you is the 555 Live in minimal time. That's we're using our model, and we're coaching, and it's real and unrehearsed. There is no, I know nothing about what is going to happen here today. I mean, in terms of what the coaching topics are going to be or any of that sort of thing. We hope what our objective is that you're going to leave with a few more skills and tips because you're going to observe this. Hopefully even some aha moments, maybe even for the coachee. And also because I'm going to be doing the first coaching demo, Mark's going to be doing the second coaching demo, you're going to see a little bit, you're going to see different styles and how it works, and just get a few different demonstrations. But also what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce the two people that have kindly offered to be coached today. And Carol is going to be the first one, Carol Gray of Tall Trees Leadership, and Leah Wuschek of Tall Trees Leadership. And so, Carol, is there anything that you wanted to say before we get officially started?
Thanks, Allison. It's great to be on board, and I am quite excited because it's not often that I get to be a coachee on a live webinar, so it's a privilege. So thank you. I look forward to this.
Good, great, and terrific. And we're going to get started momentarily. And Leah, hi.
Hi, how are you, Allison?
I'm great, and thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here and to have the opportunity to be coached. So thank you for your offer.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. So so what's going to happen is we're going to have approximately you know, I say 5, 5, 5 and live it'll probably go closer to 10 minutes of the coaching, approximately that. And Mark is going to be observing the coaching. So he will be observing the coaching, and then what will happen is at the end of the coaching, Mark will provide the feedback on the coaching. In other words, he'll moderate that part. And then what will happen is we'll open it up for a few questions or comments. And so bear with us as we manage that, because it's a managing of the time piece that's, you know, key, because we've just got an hour. And then once that one is done, then we'll move right into where Mark will be coaching Leah, I'll be observing, and then providing the feedback, and then we'll also manage, hopefully we'll have some time to manage some comments and questions at that point as well. So that's what's going to happen. Now what I want to do is I want to stop the actual screen. Good. Hallelujah. That part worked. The screen sharing. And so what we'll be seeing here is and I've also got, by the way, I forgot to mention, I've got Sandra Mall, who is our operations person at Coaching Out of the Box. And so she's going to manage some of the Q&A piece in the chat area and so on and so forth. And I just noticed that the chat seems to have disappeared. So it somehow, oh no, it's there. Excuse me, it's there. And the other thing that, I just lost my train of thought here for a second. So Sandra's here, but she doesn't need to, she won't be revealing herself. Put it this way, unless for some reason we have to do that. And Mark will be following a kind of a format that we use when we do our advanced coaching skills practicums, although it will be very brief, because of course we don't have the same amount of time that we have for that. And so please, if you have any comments, any questions, you can use the Q&A as you're observing this. You can also use the chat area. So, all right. So Carol, if you could now show yourself. Good, that's great. Perfect. And so again, Carol, thank you so much for being willing to do this today. So as I mentioned, we just have maybe at the most 10 minutes. Actually, Mark, could you give me a 3-minute heads up? Would that be okay, Mark?
Definitely, Allison, I can do that. And what kind of signal would you like me to provide that with?
Just speak. Just speak. Just speak to me. Yes.
A squeaky toy or a bell, anything?
No, you could just reveal yourself. You know.
Oh,
show your
okay.
lovely,
Okay, I'll just put the live cam on then. Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Okay, well, okay. So, Carol, here we are.
Okay.
And so, for the purposes of our short time today, what would you like to use this time for that, you know, would have you say at the end, gee, I'm really glad I stopped and got a little coaching today?
Thanks, Allison. What I'd like to talk about today is my decision to write a book.
Oh.
And I have had lots of suggestions from people over the years. You should write a book, you should write a book, you should write a book. And I'm planning on writing a book. And it's a big decision, but more importantly, I need to get started. So to have some ideas or some strategies to help me get started, and probably more importantly, is to get over that sense that, gee, what if I don't have anything important to say in a book? Or what, you know, people write books all the time that I love to read, but what if I don't have that stuff that people want to read?
Okay, all right. So, okay, so let me just clarify for a second. So at the end of our time, you want to walk away, and by the way, that's sounds way to go, and way to go for declaring it here on this webinar. Well, a lot of people are hearing this too.
Well, I'm hoping when you're finished, I have a plan, and I have a lot of people who are going to hold me to it.
Hold you accountable. You've got yes, well, at the moment, it looks like you've probably got about 60 people who could be holding you accountable. So that's not a bad strategy, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, okay, so you mentioned, and by the way, what I do when I coach is sometimes I just jot a word or two down on a piece of paper that's below me. So just know that that's what I'm doing. I don't make copious notes, but it just helps me kind of be a bit anchored. So, there were two things that you mentioned, strategies, and then the other part I heard is, what if I don't have anything important to say? Did I get that right?
Yes, that's right.
So if you had to choose today between those two items, and I'm not necessarily saying that we can't get to both, but what would you like to focus on first?
I think the issue around what if I don't have anything vital, critical, important to say, or meaningful, would probably be the bigger issue.
Okay. So, just if I'm hearing you right, kind of a fear that I have nothing to contribute that's important, that's of value to people. Is that another way to say it? I got that right?
I think that's a good way to say it. I think it's a fear, concern, a little bit of trepidation of stepping into this. It's a daunting task. I know it's manageable, but just getting over that a little bit.
Okay.
Logic tells me I do.
Well, say it again. Logic tells you what?
It tells me that I do have something to say and it's going to be valuable. But it's just that really niggling, like, who am I to be saying?
Got it. Yeah. Okay, got it. So I'm wondering, have you ever had that before in your life where you've wondered if you have anything to contribute? You know, that same kind of doubt?
Mm-hmm. I would say yes. I think in big initiatives that have big implications, there's that bit of fear. Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay. And so I'm wondering, when you had that, what worked for you? Like, what got you out of the gate? Or what got you through it?
That's interesting. That's a good question. I think there would be a number of things that have motivated or got me past that in the past. For example, one would be, well, why not me? I actually have the knowledge. I have the skills. I have credibility. Just revisiting all those aspects again and reinforcing that, you know what, you're actually in a good position to do this.
Okay. So that's what worked for you before. So that, in a way, what I'm hearing is kind of a strategy that worked for you before. So if you were to articulate how that could show up for this exciting project, what could that look like?
Could you maybe clarify?
So what I heard was when you had a big initiative before,
right.
You had some self-talk. Well, I was hearing some self-talk, and I'm not quite sure what else you did that helped you move through it, right? And so I see that in a way as a kind of a strategy, a strategy that actually worked for you when you were dealing with a big initiative.
Right.
So I'm just thinking concretely. Okay. If you were to, on a daily basis, I'm just throwing that out. What would be something you could do to support you as you hit that? Oh, who am I? Or have I got anything to say? Or, oh my goodness. how will this work?
I think what has helped in the past and what I could do to translate this to this current situation is really just having more self-talk and answering those very questions to myself. So, kind of who am I, and, do I have that knowledge and skills? Yes. How do I have that knowledge? How do I have those skills? What about the credibility aspect? Or, well, what are the key, I'm just brainstorming here.
Right.
Key ideas that reinforce to me, yes, I could do this. And I think the other part, which is just occurring to me now, is what other resources would actually support me to actually execute on this, to actually do it.
Okay. All right. Well, what I'm hearing is a woman who's come up with a number of things to note or have some self-talk around it, to also identify your credibility, if I'm hearing you right, some key ideas, some resources that could support you. And so I'm going to challenge you, because we've only got a few minutes left. This is great. You're doing great. I mean, you're already coming up with some things. And so what I'm wondering is, and here's the question.
Sure.
What is going to guarantee
Right.
that this book is going to happen?
One is, so I'll maybe have two.
Okay.
But one is I've always delivered on results before.
Okay.
Because I hold myself accountable to that.
Okay.
That's a promise to myself.
Okay.
And secondly is I'll say it out loud, I'll have Leah.
Great. Okay.
Just be a bit of that partner in how are you doing? Where are you with this, or where is it going?
Okay.
Those would be two things that I think that would help me a lot.
Okay. Well, so what I'm hearing is you've already got a few things. So way to go, and way to go in declaring it. And I'm also going to make a request, because I really want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
And I'm sure many other people do too.
Okay.
And so I'm going to request, and you can accept, reject, or negotiate, that you come up with a list of 10 things that are going to guarantee this book is going to happen.
Okay.
And get them to be in 1 week. You can accept, reject, or negotiate.
Oh, the stakes are pretty high here. In 1 week.
Yes.
I can do that.
All right. So, because way to go. So, could you just briefly recap what specifically you're walking away as a result of our conversation today?
I'm going to focus on some clear strategies, ones that I've articulated.
Okay.
I'm going to also write out 10 things that will guarantee my results, and I'm going to send those to you.
Yes. You got my email address.
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. Well, I just really want to stop for a second and acknowledge you for being willing to do this today publicly.
Okay.
And also, I'm really excited about this, and I am getting that list in a week. So that's next Wednesday.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much. And now Mark is going to come on, and we're going to talk. So go ahead, Mark.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit, yes. And Carol, I want to say thank you so much. And Allison, thank you so much for a wonderful, wonderful display of coaching there. Carol, I'm just curious, how was that for you, going through that 10 minutes with Allison?
It was very good. And why I say it was very good, because it was clarity on getting a focus. Because to be honest, when I came on, or just before I came on, I wasn't entirely sure all the things that I wanted to talk about. So clarity of focus, having a process that really helped me think through concretely, and draw on some thoughts that I actually hadn't had before. And then having a plan, and then being accountable to actually delivering on the plan. So a smooth process, it seemed for me, in actually a very short time.
Yeah. Wow. And if you could sort of point to one thing within the conversation that Allison, or one question that Allison asked you that was really a trigger for getting that connection, what was that one thing that showed up for you there?
I would say it's probably a larger aspect of it was pushing me in a supportive way to be, one is clear, but also to deliver on a result at the end, and a result that actually pushed me a little bit more than what I might have thought. So, for example, the 10 things in 1 week. Well, I didn't actually anticipate that would be, but it's actually grand. It's actually just great because it actually makes me be very purposeful in taking some next steps.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you so much for allowing and bringing your authentic self to this presentation and this coaching. Allison, can I just, and Carol, I want you to just sit tight for a minute. Allison,
Sure.
Can I just go to you? And Allison, just how was that for you?
Well, it's always great to be on the hot seat as the coach, right?
Yeah.
Because
Ask me in a few minutes.
yeah, well, I mean, so I just so appreciate Carol, and wow, what I love it when people are challenging themselves. So it's fantastic, and I really want to, for me, it was, I mean, Carol's fabulous. So there you go. I mean, that's just,
Thank you.
goes without saying. And for me, it was, again, and I will tell you, I always go into my mind about, okay, what are the key pieces of our model, actually? What are the things that I need to focus on? Because we only have a short space of time, and I really, my passion is to support that person in moving forward in some way, so that they have moved farther, faster, easier, quicker, better than they would have if they hadn't had a conversation like this. And obviously demonstrating coaching that's of value for people to observe, because that's also was on my mind too.
So with that being said then, and I mean, just, I want to acknowledge you for how you showed up, and there's no question, as you talk about the passion that showed up. And it was clear from the connection looking at both the screens. You were both having a few smiles along the way too. So that opened up. Within the conversation, Allison, what do you think that really, what do you think you did really well in that short period of time?
Well, I'm trying to get something that we could focus on, because there was actually kind of two pieces to it in a way. So I wanted to do that. And what was the rest of your question now?
Just something that you feel you did really well during that 10-minute. Outside as
I
you
hope what I did well, and I probably could have done it better, is be an advocate for Carol. In other words, here she's talking about writing a book. Now, some people could think that's, it is. It's a big thing, and I really wanted her to get. I just totally believe that's possible, right? It was no question in my mind, and so I hope that kind of came across.
Yeah, and Allison, I would say try not to be too hard on yourself, because that energy showed up, the belief in Carol, showed up, and it showed up through your questioning, and it showed up through the questions around the curiosity around what has happened in the past and why not you. Like the thing that showed up that was for me was a strength is using Carol's words, playing them back, and watching Carol's response as those words came back to her made a difference in her own thinking. It was like now that she heard it, it's really, is that really my truth, or what else is going on? So having that, what I thought was important up front is the recognition of I'm taking notes for me as trigger points to be my best for you. That's part of your signature. That's part of who you are as a coach. And to clarify that up front, so Carol's very aware of where your head is dipping and the intent of why you potentially just sort of leaving that eye contact to make those notes as trigger points. And that surfaced in the conversation. So I want to just acknowledge you for framing that. Thinking about the model, the model showed up all the way through. Outstanding piece and demonstration with that framework of the 5-5-5. The clarification up front, all those things surface. So well done.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I'm also looking over and seeing if there were any comments or questions, and I'm not seeing anything, which is absolutely fine. And so, because we haven't done it like this before, so we're learning how to do this best. And so what I'd like to do now, and again, thank you so much, Carol and Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for managing the feedback, and I've got much to show up for when I'm doing it. So thank you very much. So now, and Carol, again, thank you. And so now we're going to switch, to Mark and Leah having some coaching, and I'm going to hopefully get my little video off. And Mark, before you get officially started, how would you like, you've got approximately 10 minutes. How would you like me to give you the signal? And please don't make it technologically hard.
No, you know what worked well? I think it worked well if you just bring your video camera up, and it just, we're looking at the screens the way they are, and having just make sure you smile, because I'll feel a whole lot better down the last few minutes.
Yeah, okay, good. And hi, Leah. Thanks for coming. So I'm going to turn off my video and let the two of you get started.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Thanks, Allison. So Leah, thank you so much for leaning into this opportunity that we've got here. We've got 10 minutes, and I'm just curious, I just want to frame it, just that piece around, just to be aware, we have this virtual audience as well. And of course, within the realm of our conversation, confidentiality is really important for me, that is aware. And with the virtual audience, I just want to make sure you're comfortable with what you want to express, what you want to have the conversation with the use, and with knowing we have the virtual audience. I just want to check in with you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I'm feeling good about being here.
Great. Well, thank you, because your smile is coming over the screen like, let's just get on with it, right? So with the time that we have, what's going to be something valuable for us to have a conversation around?
Yeah, I was kind of debating back and forth what I wanted to chat about today. But I think what I'd like to address is my idea around getting into public speaking a little bit more. I do some of it, and it's something that I really enjoy doing and have done in the past. And so I guess I want to build that a little bit. But I'm feeling a bit stuck as to how I'm going to do that. I consider myself to be a planner, and for whatever reason, I'm a bit stuck on the planning piece.
Okay, so to hear that you want to get into public speaking, and knowing that you're doing this in front of a virtual audience, That's pretty exciting when I think about it. I'm hearing a couple of things in there. So I'm hearing, you know, this piece, and I hear the excitement in your voice around wanting to do the public speaking, mentioning and thinking of yourself as a planner, and that sort of how do I go about doing it? Would that be about right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right on. Yeah.
Okay. So thinking about those things like being a public speaker, thinking about the planning, and sort of being, if I can use the word stuck, you know, which one of those pieces would be the most valuable for us to explore then?
You know, probably I would say the piece around being stuck. I guess, why am I stuck? Why do I feel like I can't take some of those first steps in even just putting together a plan, I guess, or a strategy to move forward with this idea I have, this thing I want to do.
Yeah, it's and it's interesting. Like this idea I have, this thing I want to do. There's almost like that, you know, feeling that disconnect, if I could say, between what it is you want and where you want to go. If we explored that piece around looking at this piece around being stuck, what's going to be different for you at the end as you leave the conversation?
I think what I would find useful is maybe 1 or 2 steps that I can do right away. So like in a very short time frame, say within a week or so, or a couple of weeks, to just say, okay, I'm going to get on this road. Here's my first couple of steps, just to get some, I guess, momentum going.
Right. Okay. And when you're going through, when you're typically going through, when you've done some things, and you, as you say, like you're a planner, and a planner like does things, and then there's results at the end. So if we were to explore that a little bit deeper in this piece around being stuck, and as you say, you've got some things, how would you sort of measure that forward progress, that you're actually moving closer to what it is you want?
Oh, geez. How would I measure it? I think if I could have something concrete on paper, something that I can look at and say, okay, here's my first few steps. It's down on paper, and I guess there's that, you know, declaring those steps here too in a more of a public forum as well. Almost something, I guess, those that I can tick off in a sense that, okay, I've got these steps outlined, and I can actually accomplish them and show myself that I am making progress on those steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say that, what's going on for you?
A bit of frustration that I haven't been able to do that, or I feel like I haven't been able to do that up until this point. As we mentioned, I like to think of myself as a planner, and I feel like I am a planner. I like my checklists and all that type of thing. So it's a bit of frustration, like, okay, so why can't I put pen to paper and just say, here's my first couple of actions to start to explore how I'm going to make this happen.
Okay. So can I ask you a couple questions around that then?
Yeah, for sure.
What's interesting is I'm hearing someone that you love to plan. It's part of that. I'm hearing checklists and all the other pieces, right? Part of that measuring is what happens when you get excited about something? What happens for you?
Excellent question. When I get excited about something, I tend to throw myself in like full on. I don't want to use the word obsessed, because, you know, there's a bit of a negative connotation to that. But yeah, I guess like I throw myself into it and really dive deep into something, and trying to enjoy myself along the way. But yeah, I guess dig deep is probably what I would say in response to that.
Yeah, and when you think of that dig deep, how much certainty, how much, if you want to say, how much discovery goes on for you in that digging deep place?
Oh, tons. It's a learning process, right, for me. And now that I say that, that's probably the root of throwing myself into things when I get excited about them. Is it's a learning process, and I love to learn. And that's part of, I guess that would be the root of the excitement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I've heard is somebody that just, you love doing, you love planning. I could see the whole body. I was like, okay, she's starting to jump out of the chair here. She's getting excitement. You love to learn.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to take to shift from, the public speaking being, I use your, like, to stuck? What happens if we shift that language? What's another word we can use and get rid of, put it in a box, get rid of stuck? What's another word we can use? That's more positive. Let's find a positive word we can use for that based on what you just finished explaining.
Maybe it's preparation. Maybe it's about being in a place of a pause to prepare.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at the smile. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Think of that, a pause to prepare.
Yeah.
What happens, what's going on for you right now as you say a pause to prepare?
It takes those feelings of frustration, dissolves some of those feelings, and actually feels really good, because that feels more like how I pursue anything that I want to do, anything that I have an interest in, or a goal, or whatnot. So it helps to dissolve some of those feelings of frustration and, I guess, confusion in some ways, and shifts it more to a feeling of, to a positive feeling of, I guess, acceptance, but also some excitement too.
I just heard a word, acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if you gave yourself permission to pause to prepare the next time you think about, what do I need to do to be that public speaker I want to be?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels comfortable.
Okay.
And it's nice to release some of those frustrated feelings, and to acknowledge that this is probably part of the process.
Part of the process.
Yeah.
That sounds like a planner to me.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. So as we move forward, what's one thing that you can do after this conversation around being that public speaker you want to do? What's one thing you can lean into right away that's going to ignite you, that's going to spark you to create that pause?
Probably some self-reflection, and reflection on our conversation. And I think part of that is, I have lots of reasons in my head as to why I want to do more public speaking. But I think part of that pause might be to actually sit down and write down with those reasons. Actually, again, put pen to paper. I do a lot of diagrams and that type of thing. And I actually, now that I think about it, haven't done that. So maybe I just need to get those reasons for wanting to do this and those ideas, and put them down on paper, and have something that I can refer back to and look at when I start to feel either stuck or just making good use of that pause, building that foundation.
Okay. So can I make a request?
Yes.
And I just want to, over the next 2 weeks, what I want you to do is really dig into and shift from even thinking about it as being stuck, as to the excitement that comes with the pause to plan and prepare.
Right.
And write down those thoughts and
Okay.
reflect back on that over the next 2 weeks. Is that something you'd be willing to explore over the next 2 weeks?
Absolutely. That's very doable. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Okay. So just sort of play back for me. What's going to happen over the next, few days, 2 weeks, moving forward with this idea about leaning into being that public speaker for you?
Yeah, I think, over the next couple of weeks, and knowing me, it'll probably actually be over the next couple of days. I'm gonna sit down and revisit my thoughts around why I want to do this. And as I said, I'm going to actually write it down so that I have it as a reference point. I'm also going to work on shifting my thinking from being stuck to more that pause of preparation, because I really like that. And that makes a big difference in terms of how I feel about going forward with this. And part of that actually is I'm going to write myself a little sign to have on my desk about the pause of preparation, because I think that will be something that will help me to just keep that front of mind.
Wow. Can I share something that just popped into my head? Do you
Yeah,
mind?
for sure. Yeah, please.
The only reason I say that is the 3 letters of what you just said, what you want to put in front of your desk. Pause of preparation. Pop.
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 I love it.
When you think of that word pop, what lights up inside and what that means to you, I just think of that 3 simple letters.
Yeah.
How that can bring that focus and where am I heading with this?
Yeah, I love that.
And I hope you don't mind. I just wanted to share that because I think of that word pop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's actually great. I love it.
So thank you so much for sharing this idea. And I'm looking forward to, hearing about it and seeing you on the speaking limelight.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your time and for being here for me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so here we are, second demo done. Now to debrief it, now to talk about it and talk about what happened, talk about what it was for you, Leah, what it was for Mark, what's the learning. And I encourage as well, if there's any comments or questions from the participants, to feel free to jump into either the chat area or the Q&A, because we really want you to walk away with some meat as a result of viewing these coaching demos. So Leah, oh my goodness, thank you so much. So I'm curious. I'm curious, and it's only a few moments. And by the way, just know, 90% of the coaching takes place in between the coaching. So there'll be a lot going on in there. I'm guessing. Have I got that right? Do you think?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of moving the bar and making this more real, how did this go for you?
Really great. What Mark helped me to do is really come up with some concrete actions, which I guess I was really hoping for, is something concrete that I can do. It's realistic, and as I said, I can actually do that in the next couple of days. So there was that concrete action piece, but there was also the bigger piece about that pause of preparation. That is something actually I think I can use going forward in life with many of my projects or whatever, where I feel like maybe there's not as much forward momentum as I was hoping for. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Anything else you want to share about Mark's coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one of the things I found with my conversation with Mark was I actually forgot that there was a whole bunch of other people listening. He was so great about helping me to focus in on him and what he was asking and my thought process. So I was actually surprised when we wrapped up. I was like, oh yeah, we're actually on a webinar. It felt like we were sitting having coffee and doing a coaching conversation. So that was pretty amazing for me.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good. And I mean, and remember everybody who are observing this. I mean, okay, it was 10 minutes or so. Remember that. Just think if we could have more conversations like this all the time, what a difference it can make for people to have these kind of conversations. So Mark, way to go, by the way. And, you know, you're on the hot seat. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just to, you know, to listen to Leah's comments, you know, I feel pretty lucky to have somebody at the other end of the camera that engaged, and to hear her say she forgot all about the virtual audience. And it's interesting because that's how I felt. It was, Leah made it very easy just to fall into the conversation. And it was just wonderful, just the expressions, and it was so nice to hear her voice and the expressions. Like I forgot about the virtual space as well, to be honest. And it was nice to hear her thinking things through. So really, I'm going to write down pause to prepare myself. I mean, just listening to her own words, it's wonderful to walk away and learn something from the exchange at my end. Things I can carry forward as well.
Right. And so just out of curiosity, what do you think, you know, you did really well?
Well, I think it was giving her the space to just come up with her own terminology. You know, after hearing that she's a planner and it was an interesting connection between this stuck and all the wonderful things she's been able to do. So for me, what I wanted to do, I wanted to focus on the things that get her excited, to be able to explore how could we use that excitement and get rid of that word being stuck. And I was really happy that we played in that space. So she came up with that pausing. And as soon as she talked, when I watched her closely, when she said pause to prepare, there was almost like a wait, there was a shift, there was a change in so much of her facial expressions that I was dancing inside going, yes, this is the moment we can move for.
Okay. And anything else you want to add?
Well, I wanted to frame it up front that we had the virtual space and we had a large audience around the topic. Yeah. I wanted her to be comfortable right up front, and she was okay with it, which gave me permission to potentially challenge differently, and there was no hesitation. So I was happy that I did that. I'm really happy that she's leaving, and I think just sort of framing it, having her play it back to me, reaffirmed that she was owning this moving forward.
Right.
I was happy about, creating that space. I think the one thing for me is it's, even though we only had 10 minutes, I didn't feel rushed, and I didn't feel like I was rushing to find an answer for her. I felt like I was more just playing in that space, and it just happened over those 10 minutes. So I was really happy that we were able to explore something meaningful for Leah in that time.
Okay. Well, Mark, I mean, there are so many pieces here. And, as I'm thinking of our model, I'm thinking of how you showed up. I mean, one of the things we always talk about is the guiding principles of a coach. When you meet and you're in your coach mode, it's how you showed up was fabulous. I mean, you demonstrated. I mean, when I think about it, you were curious. You did not And I'll tell you myself, when I was first learning coaching, and I hear it all the time with lots of us. I mean, you and I were working just last week with a whole group of people, and there's such a tendency to want to say, well, hey, here, I got the perfect solution for you. You didn't do that. You let her figure it out for herself, and you were curious. You were mining her and trying to find out what was going to work for her versus you jumping in right away with your fabulous thoughts. And I really want to point that out, because I think that is a huge challenge for people that start to get into that coach mode, is they want to tell. They want to tell the person what to do. You didn't do that ever. And I love the way she came with a few things, which is very common when we're coaching. You know, the person, I mean, if anybody coaches me, I'm a train wreck. I mean, I have about 12 different things that I bring to the coaching, and the poor coach is like, oh my God, how am I gonna, you know, and yet and by the way, Leah was not. And you, oops, there we go. And you focus in, well, what do you want to use the time for? Then you mind. And the other thing that I thought you did beautifully was you acknowledged her, you encouraged her. Gosh, you know, 90% of the people that we're working with, that we're coaching, I mean, change is happening all over the place. New technology, changing technology, new demands in organizations. They're running, you know, their feet are to the fire. They're dealing with so many things, and things that they've never had to dealt with before. And Leah, and they're stuck. And they're stuck. We get that a lot, right? And you unstuck her? You unstuck her, whatever the word is, you did it.
We paused her. We paused her.
Yeah. And the language you were using, the way you were encouraging her, the way you were supporting her and believing in her was critical. And the other thing that you did, and she said this at the beginning, she said, gosh, you know, I kind of forgot I was on this webinar with all these people observing, right? And she and I think that was a beautiful example of when you're coaching, you're completely focused on her, or the coachee, and you did that wonderfully. So huge kudos for you around that. And I'm also aware of our time as well. Lots of good questions. What's going to be different by the end? Oh, and then you made sure, and this is what we've always got to remember in coaching, what are we talking about? And get that clear at the beginning, because things can meander and we can get all stuck, and sometimes it can take a while to get that clarified, right, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
And but you did a lovely job of that, letting her, you know, go through the process, but always at the end, what is that person going to do? What are they prepared to walk away? What are they going to commit to? So that even in a 10 minutes, remember this is going to I'm sorry, but I get excited. It transforms people in organizations. It transforms people's lives when we can focus like that, and we can support someone in that moving forward. So I just, I forgot to ask Leah the question. There was one other question, and I'm also noticing we've had some comments as well, and lovely comments. So thank you for those. Not stepping into solutions, which we were just talking about. Thank you, Arlie. And it's so difficult, Arlie's saying, in our action-oriented world, like we got to fix it, we got to solve it. And having that coachee find it is, as Arlie's saying, golden. And then I did see some other comments here. It was, Margaret said, it was great to be aware of the focus that both Allison and Mark gave to each coachee. Focus listening, focusing on the one issue, focusing on walking away with some great action steps. Mm-hmm. So way to go, Mark, in doing that in a kind of a framework, like this. And so I'm curious, and Leah, if you're still there, I forgot to ask you a question that I wanted to ask.
Sure, yep.
And that was, thank you, from the beginning, how's your energy as a result? I'm curious about your energy at the end of the coaching and versus the beginning. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely different. It's a great question because at the beginning of the coaching, I was feeling kind of like, we got to figure this out, or not we, but I have to figure this out. And, feeling a little bit, again, that frustration around the issue. At the end of the coaching, I guess the energy was up, much more positive, and I could feel a new sense of excitement. And so that was really, really wonderful.
Okay, because that is also what thank you. You've articulated this so well, and that's what we want to have happen in the coaching, right, Mark? Is that we want them to walk away energized and motivated in some way to move forward and do something. And that I'm so pleased you said that. And I because that's what's critical in a coaching interaction is, are they energized? Maybe it wasn't all, roses and sunshine. So don't get me wrong, that can happen too. But the person is energized in some way. And how fabulous that, the other demonstration here that I want to focus on too is that the coach does the coaching and the coachee or the client does the work. And this is a lovely, it's just a lovely way of, this was a lovely demonstration of it. So thank you. And I hope that, thank you so much. So this is what can happen. And so I encourage you, I know there's many people who are already possibly graduates of coaching, but if you're not and you want to bring this to your organization, you want to strengthen your skills, please contact us. We'd love to support you in making that happen. And I can see that we're also, we've got a few moments left. And so, I'm thank you. I can see some lovely comments. And I'm just curious, would this be of value to do more of these again? Could you see this being of value? And just yes. Yeah, it's fun to do. So, all those people that are saying yes, you got to be willing to jump in and be a coachee, because that's the thing. We want to get coachees to help us. And again, good, that's great. And I want to acknowledge and thank Mark for jumping in. Thank you so much, Mark. You're fabulous. I want to thank Carol and Leah for being willing to coach of Tall Trees Leadership. So thank you so much. Everybody have a great, it's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll do this again. Stay tuned. All right. Bye-bye.